hold on, let me try.
Hi everyone, thanks for tuning in. A few technical errors, but we're getting on soon. We'll be there. I'm sat in the car. Yeah, so if my neighbours don't already think I'm crazy, then now they will. I probably won't be concentrating on the comments too much, mainly because I want to be fair and just listen to my guest and really hear what they have to say. So if I do miss any comments, I am sorry. Oh, hang on. There we go.
Jeez.
Yeah, that's better. That's what it is.
Just a sec. Right. Cool.
Hello,
Hi, you're right.
I'm good. I'm Seema.
Oh, all right. I'm Aminur.
Hello, Amina. I just realized no one knows my name here, so
Yeah, I
we
was
got a name
wondering.
to the. Sorry?
No, I was wondering what your name was as well.
Yeah, yeah, no one knows my name, so
All
truth's
right.
out.
So it
Um,
is.
yeah, how are you? You okay?
Yeah, I'm not too bad. Yourself?
Good. I am on the earphone, so if it's like I'm shouting at you, just let me know. I'll
No, no, the
tone
voice is
myself
clear,
down.
so it's all right. Yeah.
Oh, great. So, I've seen you on TikTok only a few
Yeah.
months earlier. Um, It was mainly a video on your sister Sarah for
Yeah, yeah.
Ehlers. Sorry, I can't pronounce it, and I don't want to.
Oh,
Ehlers
yeah. Just
Danlos, is it?
Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so thing with me is if I don't know anything, I wouldn't
Mhm.
speak about it only
Yeah.
because I don't want to like kind of disrespect anyone and
Yeah.
get the wrong kind of information. So do you want to speak about that and just
Yeah. Well, I don't know as much as my mum, but I know like the basics of it. So it's a form of disability, like a hidden disability especially. It's not as visible compared to, for example, someone being on a wheelchair. So my sister was diagnosed with was the type 6 EDS. So it was kyphoscoliotic. Then they had all sorts of like issues from um, she could like have like a racing heartbeat just like that. She had very like simplest way to describe it. She had very like floppy bones and hands, so she could do a lot of strange movements. Very hypermobile, um, and I think she was just like compared to someone else, she was, just had like a weak structure, and anything um, which is considered normal was a challenge for her. So that's like the basics of it. It's just I think everything's a bit more restricted in her life. So yeah, so I think what we tried to do, because I never really had any like social medias after she passed away, we just tried to like get her story out and her message out. Because she did, I'm not sure if you're aware of, do you know the Miss Universe Great Britain? Yeah, she did the pageant in a year and a half ago, and I think her story was like a leading like contender to win the title. But obviously with COVID protocols and it kind of delayed everything. Then I think for this year, I think December she pulled out because I think from last year she was just getting like more like weaker and like her motivation wasn't the same, so she dropped out of that. Then eventually like the health was like decreasing, leading to what happened in April where she passed. So,
okay? Was this something she was born with that you are aware of, or
yeah, but it wasn't picked up on straight away. So I think we were seeing obvious signs. Well, I can't remember as much when I was growing up, but my mum definitely saw it. Because I think if she had just a general fall, there'd be like large cuts or so. It'd be really like severe and like very sensitive to like any fall. She could bruise a lot. But I think by the age of 4 or 5, there was a name, but it wasn't diagnosed as that until much later. Then as time
How old
went,
was she, sorry?
uh, when she passed, she was 20, but the first signs of it was around 4 or 5. But then the actual diagnosis came much later on, just before she like reached around her teens. So,
Okay, so I must say, like Marshall, she's absolutely beautiful. I
yeah,
think I did see that video of her being the aspiring, was it Miss Great Britain? Sorry.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, so it's absolutely stunning, and obviously that will catch anyone's heart. So then, when you mentioned Ella's Danos, I was like, Danos, I can't
yeah,
pronounce it. Sorry, I was
yeah,
like, oh, what is that?
yeah,
I have had to look through your videos. I was
yeah,
doing as much research as I could just to kind of
yeah,
like understand. Hang on, why isn't this talked about? Because as you know, my platform is autism.
yeah,
However, I do like to delve into other hidden disabilities, just like
yeah, exactly.
what Sarah has had. Sorry. And there was also the research part. So your mum's in the profession of medical, from what I understand. So she understands,
Yeah.
is she a counselor, I believe.
Yeah, she knows in like more about it in much depth, like the actual, like all the phrases used. Whereas I'm kind of like learning more about it, but I just knew the basics more or less about it. But yeah, she knows quite a lot deep into it, and I think just the plan is just to try and to just try and well, it's not just awareness, but just like more just to kind of like celebrate for what she's left us behind. So we're trying to do
Absolutely.
uh, around, I think, the end of November, trying to do like an event. We're trying to get people from the Ehlers-Danlos community because we did like a short interview with them as well, which was nice, just to talk about more about her. So it's just more events like that. Then if this one goes well, then hopefully more and more can come in the future. But it's just finding time to do it because we're all like busy all the time as well. So yeah, hopefully we can after this one we could do like more for her in behalf of her because yeah, it's a massive loss.
No, absolutely. And I can't imagine what everyone's going through in your family. One thing which is very inspiring about your sister is she did leave an imprint. She did shout. That she
Yeah,
wasn't one of those that was quiet. And I can see that through the videos that you have posted
yeah,
about her. So one of the interviews that you have, you were saying how your sister was telling the professions
yeah,
on how she's feeling, on what it is that she's actually got, and because they didn't have a clue, did they? So on the profession
yeah.
side, do you want to talk a bit about on that side?
Well, because where we live in Cumbria, I think the hospital service wasn't as good as I'd like. So in terms of understanding just the general terms of the disability, it was hard to explain it to them, and I don't think many people understood because she was just passed around within like our area from people to people, and just to get people to understand, it'd have to be people from like Newcastle or Manchester or even like Sheffield or London. But just to explain, just to general doctors in our areas, it was quite a challenge for her because they just tried to like give her some sort of medication just to say that like we have give some form of medication because she kept having to come back, and the fact that they couldn't like understand or recognize her disability for someone who's coming to the hospital a lot, it was like a bit of a shame. But yeah, I think what through that interview, just kind of wanting like doctors in the UK especially just to like understand like people, just because you see them from the outside, you can't just assume that like there's apparently like normal because
Mm.
like normal's different for everyone. So in her case, it was hard to like explain it to like doctors especially.
Yeah, absolutely. Because like you say, she looks normal. If
Yeah,
she's obviously on Miss Great Britain, and she's doing these shows, and she's,
Yeah.
on social media, she's given her voice. So according to
Mm.
outsiders, there's absolutely nothing wrong with her, but no one
Yeah.
sees what's behind closed doors and the suffering on exactly what's
Yeah.
happening with her. So I believe it's the same even with autism,
Yeah.
because you can't physically see it, like
Yeah.
there's no underlying issues. So I think there are a lot of changes now in regards into the autism community. I think
Mhm.
it is thanks to people finally coming out of the shell and being like, hang on a second, this isn't right. I think something is
Yeah.
wrong. Whereas, say, 15, 20 years ago, it wasn't the norm to be like, okay, you know what, I think something's wrong. It was more of an embarrassment. So you wouldn't see
Yeah.
people going and say, like, you know what, doctor, I think something's wrong with me, or it's the, what do you call it, ego, and you
Yeah.
rather not go through that as
Yeah,
well.
even in public, because my younger brother, he's diagnosed as well. I think, parents like in public, if they like did something which just seemed unusual, they'd kind of try and like tell them off a bit just to kind of um make them seem like normal in public. But it's, especially with Asian, well, I'm like Bengali background, so I think slowly more parents are coming out, like being a bit more comfortable coming out with it. But yeah, like you said back then, yeah, it was almost impossible just to explain it to someone. But yeah,
Absolutely. Did you say your brother has Ehlers-Danlos, or is it
no,
autism?
he's autistic, but I think he understands everything, but it's just like words coming out in
Yeah.
sentences. He'll say words in what he wants, or like drag me. Like if he wants like a biscuit, he'll like grab my hand and put it on the tin.
Yeah.
Yes, stuff like that. But I think it's just on the final step of actually like coming out with sentences, then like it's a like really good way to like reach the next level for him. But yeah,
So
I
how
think
old is he? Sorry?
he's 10 now. Yeah,
10.
yeah,
Yeah, I think thing with autism is because it's not talked about and there wasn't a lot done. So unfortunately, a lot of people our age as well have gone undiagnosed, and it's actually proven even on some of my videos, you have like a lot of people older, say, millennials, and they're like,
yeah,
oh well, I think I have that, but it's too late now. And it's
yeah,
actually not too late at all. And I think the system, especially UK, they have failed to see that, because
yeah,
ultimately they would blame it on the parent and be like, well, you know what, this your kid, control your kid, for example.
yeah,
Or I think before then, like I'm also Bengal like you, so it was the
yeah.
hit, like you would get hit, wouldn't you? And it was the
Exactly. Yeah, yeah,
norm, and that was it, one slap
yeah,
and that's it, yeah, that'll fix you. But it wasn't. And I
yeah,
think especially in the brown culture, it's
yeah.
really bad. So you have that kind of level. So you have, obviously you're very experienced in having hidden disabilities in the family. Is that like a lot of pressure on you? Are you the eldest?
I'm the second, but my like I have an older brother. Then the other one's 18 next month. Then obviously my youngest brother, who's autistic, he's 10. Especially after my sister passed away, my like youngest brother was like really close to her because we'd be like working a lot, especially on the in the evenings. So he
Yeah.
got a lot of time with her. And now that she's like gone, I think it's slowly like transferring to me. So he's coming up to my room even more now. He'll boss me about a bit, but no, it's different because I think he had that close connection with her. He's just trying to find her with someone else in the family. But I think because I managed to get him like a bit more time at home, I think he's kind of seeing that with me. So it's nice, but obviously
Yeah,
it's
I can't imagine from your
yeah,
brother's point of view, because
yeah,
I think the way autism is any changes really affects them, like
yeah, exactly.
detrimentally. And obviously, she's a sibling,
Yeah,
she's a sibling. So how was he after that? Was he like, did he, you have some autistic children
yeah,
who they're not aware of what's going on, but they just kind
yeah.
of get on with it. Or if they are aware, they don't show it, they show it in mannerisms. So it could be like meltdowns and shutdowns and things like that, fighting. So how was his behavior
Um,
after?
we didn't see a lot of meltdowns, but we went to because she passed away in Newcastle. We all had to go together, but he wouldn't come in the room. Um, so he'd kind of like drag one of us out, but he was like saying like goodbye. So in a way, he was probably kind of understood. Um, but you know the well in Bengali we call it the Zainab passport, like the prayer
Yeah,
mat.
yeah.
Yeah, um, like after like she was gone, he'd like get that out and just like sit down for a bit.
Oh,
So I think he's like trying to show that he's like praying, like for her, um, like just for himself. But um, like a month after that, someone he goes to a school for like special needs. So someone like it's been harder for him to be fair because someone in his class like passed away in their sleep. Um,
oh God.
then yeah, so that was like a few months after like Sarah. So I think we saw it more with him then because he was hiding like under his blanket for at least 4 or 5 hours. I think he showed more after that. So because he's seen death once, now that it's happened again in such a short space of time. I think it hit him like even more. But yeah, as time like goes, we're seeing different things because he won't really enter like Sarah's room anymore. It's hard
Mm,
to like get him in, but it's the same with everyone else in the family. We're not really like using her room because like her presence isn't there anymore.
mm.
So it's changed quite a lot. But
I mean, obviously, it's like I say, I can't imagine how
yeah,
you're going through this, you know.
yeah,
So I understand it is very difficult for you to speak about this. I
yeah,
really appreciate it. In regards to your brother, like, you know, someone who, like, you have a 10-year-old and you have an autistic 10-year-old, and like you're
yeah,
saying, he's hiding under blankets and things
yeah.
like that. So he does have an idea of what's happening. Is he getting any help from this since your sister and since his
Yeah.
schoolmate? What kind of help is he offered for this?
I think the school have their ways of doing it, because they kind of like broke it down to him in like a softer way. I think they probably done it in probably like a better way for him to understand, whereas compared to us when we lost Sarah, because I think all of us just had emotions everywhere, because like one of his like classmates passed away. I think they had their own technique to kind of like break it down to him. Obviously, the effects afterwards wasn't like it was hard for him, but I think he's feeling like better now. It's much more like different. Um, yeah, it was just trying to keep him happy in different ways, really. But just yeah, just trying to make as much time as possible because we've been working all summer as well. So yeah, even like a few minutes with him, it just makes him happy. So even if we can all like do that within the family, hopefully it can like help him just develop. So
And how about you as a sibling? How are you finding this? Like, how are you? Is obviously you're concentrating on your brother and obviously your sister, and there is a lot of responsibility on you, especially say in a brown culture household. So
yeah,
I'm just asking from me to you, how are you doing?
yeah. Uh, it's I'm not too bad. I think at the start it was I think we had like personal issues with other family members because no one wanted to like understand like my sister's disabilities. Then they kind of made it about themselves. Then I've just kind of like cut off majority of people because I think after like something like real as that happening, you kind of see um who's there for you and who's not. It's not the nicest way to find out, but
No.
yeah, even like people who I grew up with, like texting every day, it's just yeah, it's changed quite a lot. But yeah, just slowly adapting to it. But yeah,
Yeah, unfortunately, people don't know how to answer. And I know I've put
yeah,
on a recent post actually. It is quite brutal, but
yeah,
unfortunately, it's true. You know, that's how it is. No one will say, "Oh, are you okay?" Or, you know, they'll see the negative side. So,
yeah,
I mean, for me, it's different because I've not
yeah,
allowed it to be like that. Obviously,
yeah,
when I did with my sons, it was different.
yeah,
Thing is, now there is awareness of it, of autism itself. There is aware it will keep growing. There will always be that gap for it. Is UK doing enough for it? I don't believe so. I know I've put on about the autism strategy. However, that changes every so often. But I can see through the professionals I work with, I can say, oh, hang on, they're doing that now, and they're doing this now. So it's definitely improving. What is it that you want, like in terms of support? I know you say you wanted to raise awareness to me and stuff, but which
Yeah.
path are we going here? What is it that is it both or
Yeah, because just awareness itself, everyone understands awareness. Everyone knows that like there are like these types of like problems in the world, or people like having these forms of like disabilities. I think it's just trying to bring onto the next stage, kind of being like more comfortable with people who have any forms of disabilities, because you see in today a lot of people are like quiet if like they have some form of disability, and they get a lot like neglected a lot and singled out. Basically, just whatever I saw from like Sarah's life, like all the downsides, try and turn that into positives, because she was like singled out a lot, especially from growing up. Because you see all the other kids, like they can do a lot of like physical stuff, kind of like help, um, allowing for just people who don't have any like sort of problems or so, just to kind of involve people who are like facing just like any sort of internal struggles, because it's just gonna like help them just in the general like mental health. Because if they're just singled out by everyone, it's just gonna like hurt them even more. Because they're already like like a bit challenged physically, and if they're struggling mentally by like being neglected by kids in school or even in workplace with adults, I think it's just going to be like hard to come back from that if you lose yourself mentally. So I think what we're just trying to do through like events and everything, just allow people with any forms of hidden disability just to like feel comfortable, stand up for themselves, and just yeah, just try and like don't put yourself down for everything. So if my sister managed to like pass her GCSEs missing like a year and a half of school,
it's
um,
amazing?
and do like pageants, despite what's going on, then it should be like used as a motivation for kids coming up. Because you see like people of today who are like classed as normal, they'll just waste a life away, like because they're
Mm.
comfortable, like they won't really want to challenge themselves to the next step. It's just, yeah, we just, well, our like aim is just to try and motivate upcoming people. Like if you have a disability, it doesn't really it doesn't like matter. You should be classed as like all like there should be some form of like unity, just to make them feel a bit more welcome and just yeah. Just,
I agree. However, the issue we're having is like a lot of people are like, okay, I've got this, or I'm not understanding this, help me. And
yeah,
it's those two words, help me. So when they do go to the doctor and they're like, okay, I think I have this, and ultimately they get turned back,
yeah,
unless
exactly.
it's say something physically. Like I'll give you an I know I haven't talked much about me because I wanted this to be more about you.
Yeah,
I have two sons, and
yeah,
they're both non-verbal and they don't talk. So
yeah,
there's no speech at all.
yeah,
So obviously when I went to the doctors, I was like, help. Like, I've got two
yeah,
girls and I've got two boys. So the girls, obviously, they don't, shut up. And then these boys are not talking.
yeah,
So I was like, what is this? And I never knew that autism existed as such until obviously my first son was born. And and it wasn't until a long time after he got diagnosed quite late. So obviously with that, and you go to a doctor and you're like, okay, doctor, he's 3, he's not saying mom, dad, or nothing like that. What is it? And it all eventually, thanks to a lot of professions, and their help, he did get diagnosed. So then, his brother was already born as well, who's a baby,
mhm,
by the time he was say 3. So he also was autistic, nonverbal, is even. So I had that. So I find like, okay, I'm probably in the more higher range of, being diagnosed and getting the help that I need. However, there are a lot of individuals out there who are autistic who
Mm.
suffer. Like you've got to remember, autism isn't just like one thing. It's not just speech. It's a whole
Mm.
spectrum.
Yeah,
So say you and me, we could be talking like this, but in person, I'd probably be like, I won't be able to like face you, or
yeah,
I might not be social anymore. Like lockdown has changed me in that
yeah,
kind of sense. I'd rather work at home and not go out. I've just become a bit of a recluse. So when it comes to that, and so parents and even adults mainly, it's hard for them to say, help me, because
mm,
they're going to the doctor and I'm not sure what the doctors do. I'm not
yeah,
sure if they give the right assessments they
yeah,
do to children towards adults. Does that make sense?
yeah.
So, when you say like, okay, if you have a disability, you need that help. Yes,
Mm.
absolutely. But I think some professionals don't take it seriously until you have that.
Yeah, that's really true. Yeah, I think yeah. Then by the time they like react, like it can be like too late, or like it's really hard to try and convince them that there is like some sort of issue because they'll keep like turning you away. Even just like with general like issues, if if you just like feeling ill, they won't really believe you until like you're at a stage where you have to be like treated. And then there's a chance of your life it could might be taken away. But yeah, I think that's one of the problems we had, especially just trying to convince like the doctors in within the UK, um, like just to see like we have like something wrong. Like it's came to a point we all have to like educate ourselves, just for the sake of like siblings or like children. But yeah, it's difficult.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the first thing I found out was when my son's now 7 and my other youngest son is 3. So when I first found out about autism, he was at a nursery, and when he was at that time he was about 2. So when he went nursery, the nursery was like, "Oh, he's so naughty. He's been hitting people. He's been
Mm.
jumping on tables. He's been climbing, and he's been throwing stuff." And I was like, "Wow!" And I was really shocked. And as a parent, you're like, "How dare you say that about my
Yeah,
child?"
yeah,
It's that inner tigress just comes out. It's like, "I will eat you alive," and then it just kind of. It just you just feel really bad, and
yeah.
especially because my daughter went there, she was like fantastic, the perfect girl.
Mhm.
And it wasn't until we moved areas where the nursery was like, hang on a second, we think he might have autism. And I was like, what is that?
Yeah,
I didn't know what it was.
yeah,
And one of my friends, she messaged me on Facebook because I started sharing it. I was like, oh, my Facebook, I start sharing posts here and there. And she was like, oh, yeah, my son's got it. And I did all of this. But then I was like, why are you not talking about it? Because I
yeah,
don't want anyone to know. And that just really annoyed me.
yeah,
It
yeah,
really annoyed me. I was like, you're saying you went through all the stage, you did all that, you went through all the trauma, and you
mm,
didn't want to talk about it, and you didn't want anyone to know.
yeah,
And I think I did. I think one of the last words was saying, at the end of the day, you shouldn't be ashamed. And then I
yeah,
think she did get quite upset. She's like, I'm not ashamed. But I was like, well, yeah, I did. I just left it as that. But in my head, I was
yeah,
like, if you were ashamed, then you would have no qualms about
yeah,
sharing stuff, and
mm,
ultimately I think what that meant was my son's not normal and my
mhm,
child's not normal and I don't want anyone to know. And again, that's down to brown culture.
yeah, yeah,
So it's been a journey, but that was, say, I don't know, 5 years ago, and there was none of that like information out the way I see it. I mean, it was out, don't
yeah,
get me wrong,
yeah,
but it wasn't until you go onto YouTube and internet, and we are
mm,
UK based, so a
yeah,
lot of this information is in America. So you have
mhm,
all these options available. Because the first thing you do is when you hear about something like this, what's the first thing that comes to mind?
sorry, what was that?
Was
I think the part. Mhm.
when you hear about something like having Ehlers-Danlos or autism,
Yeah.
what's the first thing that comes to mind? What's the first thing you do?
When you like, searching for on YouTube, is it?
Yeah, exactly. When you search on the
Yeah,
stuff, you look for a
yeah,
cure.
yeah, exactly. Straight away, it's in. Yeah, and that's the things. Like there's so much information on the internet. Everything is like so different to one another. You don't really know which like source is true. then you kind of fill your head with all sorts at the same time as well. Uh,
Yeah, I think that's the problem. Like, don't get me wrong, I see a lot of mums and
yeah,
a lot of mum accounts on TikTok. I don't see enough men talking about these invisible disabilities, especially about
yeah,
autism. And I think you were the one of the few. That's why I was like, oh, hang on, all right, he's talking about autism, and you just don't see it. And I know there are a couple of big
yeah,
accounts, but there's not enough. And I think, unfortunately for men, they probably have inside that ego, correct me if I'm wrong. It's like, well, I
yeah,
don't want to, to seem manly, to be like, okay, I think I have an
yeah,
issue in
yeah,
this side. And, a lot of them prefer not to share, which is fair enough. But they're just as important, whether you're a father of, that's why I did a post. I was like, duet me. And it's mainly based for men as well. It's like,
yeah,
where are the fathers of these autistic kids? How are you guys feeling? Because we know how the mother's feeling, because they're telling us,
yeah.
but you don't get that from fathers as well. So it's very important for like men as well to speak about how they're feeling. So what you're doing in your account is really good as well.
Yeah, it took time. That's the thing, because I've always been like really shy growing up. So like yeah, like kind of talking about this took like a really long time. Because even I was kind of like that. I wouldn't really like speak about it because I didn't really have anyone to like speak about it. Because even like people my age, a lot of them won't really understand like what these things are. Then yeah, it's at a point where you just kind of like accept it and you just kind of like just talk about what's good for them. But yeah, trying to get like more like men talking about it, like hopefully it can like bring more people to do so. It just brings another point of view, doesn't it?
Absolutely. I think it's more about sharing that it's okay. So
Yeah,
if you're one man sharing on your platform, you know what, today I'm feeling really sad.
yeah,
It just takes that one, and then someone else will be like, you know what, mate, I'm sad too, and it's okay. I think times has moved on a lot
yeah,
since say 10 years, 15 years.
yeah,
It has moved on definitely in the better in terms of speaking out, especially like regardless of what gender you are.
mhm,
um but I don't think it's enough. Obviously autism is getting out there a lot. Ehlers-Danlos is not, I'll be honest. Like for
yeah,
me anyway, I know there is a community out there, but even if you go on a hashtag on Ehlers-Danlos,
yeah,
there isn't anything there. So
yeah,
it's amazing. Like your sister did what she did, or with the littlest
yeah,
information, but I think she was really inspiring to be like, hey, doc, hang on, I've got this and I've got this and I've got this. She literally gave the symptoms out. So for those that are watching now, do you want to share like the symptoms of Ehlers-Danlos?
yeah. Well, there's quite a few. Just like she's very like flexible in terms with like let's say with her hands she can like put it right back, whereas like someone just generally more, might not have that flexibility. She has like very very loose skin, so like you can really pinch it really far. um Her heart rate can just go up and down just like that, even just from resting it could shoot up. And there's quite a few going on, but it's I think the higher the type, the more rare it is. So I think her one especially, I think I'm not sure if I'm right, my mum knows, but I think it was like 1 in 100,000
Wow.
who is likely to be diagnosed for it. So it is highly rare. So like you said, not finding much about it, especially on the internet, like I understand like why it's true because it is highly highly rare. It's like, but I don't know. Hopefully, like how like autism is kind of um, being recognized more, it might take maybe a bit longer for disabilities, especially. But I think hopefully, as time goes on, 5 or 10 years, it can be more recognized and more like easy to understand as future goes. Yeah, because as of right now, there's so much information about it. It's like it's it's crazy. It's like probably like an essay's worth of what a daily life is like with someone who has Ehlers-Danlos and just a general like symptoms of it. Um, just like an example of like her later stages would be I think because she reached a point where like her life like was on the bed, so like it can, I think when you come in like to the end of your life, it definitely affects you because she reached a point where she couldn't really get out of bed, so my mum or dad had to help her out. Then she'd go to the bathroom from there. Some days I'd do it as well. But then after that, she'd have to go back in the bed because she wouldn't really have the strength to do anything. Even if we just tried to like go outside in front of the house, it'd be quite like a trek for her just to walk around the house to the front door. It's just any general form of activities like it's such a like real challenge for her. Um, but yeah, I think before she passed as well. Well, what we got from like the doctors was, well, she got diagnosed with colitis as well on the later stages. So before she like passed, her skin turned all like yellow. So it was like known as like jaundice. But by the time they tried to treat her, it was really late. And that's like another thing as well. They didn't really, the doctors, especially in our area, they didn't really do anything once it was like really, really late. Because even when my parents took her to the hospital, my auntie kind of knew it was her last stage. But like explaining that to the doctors, it took time, and a lot of time was wasted. And I think before, because we had to transfer her from Carlisle to Newcastle, so another hour went. Then in that
Mm.
space of period of time, she lost her senses. Then she was completely, um, well, she wasn't really aware of anything. So no one could like even like she couldn't speak, or we wasn't really sure if she can even hear us. Then like that entire process was like really um, difficult, especially because they had COVID restrictions. We weren't like even allowed to. Well, we were told we were allowed to see her. Then we drove like 52 miles to like be turned away. Um,
Oh.
yeah, there's just all sorts going on. Because for us especially, everything's been like a bad experience throughout her lifetime, especially treatment from like the NHS. In fact, it might be different with different people, but in our case, like I think everything was probably like the worst like you could get in terms of treatment for someone. Yeah,
I think this is the exact reason why you should use the platforms, get the word out about there. I
yeah,
think it might surprise you how many people will come up and be like, hang on a second, this does ring a bell. Um, so what we'll do we'll call it a day in about 5 minutes, but before we
yeah.
go, let's talk about Sarah. What was she like? God, or what was she
Mm.
like? What's her personality like?
Well, growing up, she grew up with all boys, so she just had brothers. So
Lucky
obviously,
girl.
yeah, so literally, so I think we lived in like a smaller compact house. So we were all like, oh, it was like a typical Asian household. Everyone was like sharing rooms and that.
Mm.
So growing up, we were all like close and tight. Um, she liked like the old-fashioned like cooking pots from like Bangladesh.
Oh yeah. Yeah, the
Yeah,
handies, the round
yeah, the
ones, the one that you
handies.
have to hold with a fork. The
Yeah, all
yeah.
that. She'd like kind of like play with that. Like she played with that on her own. She tried to get me into it, but yeah, I couldn't keep up with it. But yeah, just from growing up, she's really like active. She'd want to do all sorts of physical activities. Obviously, it was a bit more limited, so we kind of just had to adjust a bit. But yeah, we really like. Even she said herself, her childhood was like one of the best, like her best time of her life.
Oh.
Then as she was like growing up, we moved to this house. Then like she was like getting really like good at the makeup stuff. I don't have a clue about the makeup stuff, but yeah, she was like really good at it. like her like social media was blowing up as well. It's just crazy because she just like taught herself, um, just probably through like YouTube videos and sorts. But yeah, I think all she just like loved having like gatherings within our family, um, and we just tried to make the most of it really. Um, like you can see with my youngest brother, they were like super tight because they both had like a form of hidden disability. She was like even more protective over him, and she probably like did the
Oh,
most for him out of everyone. Um, and yeah, it was just really nice because my mum's brother, he was on a wheelchair as well, and he was like exactly like similar, but kind of
mm,
different. Like if we'd all like go, like they'd all go to like his room, and they'd just spend quality time. Then it was kind of the same thing with us. We'd all like spend time in her room, just yeah, it's just like nice quality like family time, and yeah, she was yeah, she was just on top of everything, even academically. Because I remember when I did my GCSEs, I was like constantly working non-stop. I had like mind maps everywhere in my room. She
mm.
missed like a year and a half, and she got like A stars and stuff.
Oh, don't you just hate people like that who can just like sink
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
information and just pass it and you're the
exactly.
because I'm
Yeah,
studying as well and I procrastinate like
exactly.
nothing. It takes
Yeah,
me like a whole week to do a module and you know
exactly.
I have some people who just like yeah they just literally read it and they pass. I was like I hate you so much right now.
Yeah, it's
So
crazy. It's like that. They just scan everything and that's it. Yeah. Then I think she was like studying like neuroscience. I think her and my mum they were hoping to do like a degree course at the same time, so they would have had
mm,
one another to support each other to get through. I think that was her long-term plans. Then use her current platform as well to kind of merge the two together.
mm,
So yeah, she did have a lot of plans. Um, yeah, it's obviously hard now. We're just trying to like make the best of everything and just kind of like spread what she wanted to do herself in some form of way.
absolutely. I think it's very inspiring and obviously you have understanding parents and they you know I've seen your mum's interview. A big respect to her.
Yeah,
You know you can see that she has a goal and she's not one to like shy around and be like okay well that's that done. I'm not gonna speak out about it anymore. I've got my reputation to think about. No, she's not like that. She's you know, you can tell she's very professional and she's very understanding and she wants to get the word out. So by all means do it. You know, you use the platform, do that. I know you talk about a lot about mental health and you know how you can be 100% without any mental health issues with everything
mhm,
going in your life. You know, I don't know. You know, you have to have something. So I think
mhm,
it's really good that you're dealing with it the way you are. I mean, we all have it, and it's good that you speak about it because, again, it's more of an egotistic thing. A lot of people do
mhm,
not speak about it, and I think that also that's why kind of like my page of you know I do mental health
mhm,
and then autism because it's important. You know, our brain is what functions our whole body, and a lot of people don't think about that. And you know, you need to look after your brain before you can even do your fitness. You know, there's no point going to the gym if you're going to be crying, hating
yeah,
yourself. You know, you need that balance of
mhm,
that. So, um, I mean, it's been amazing. I have to say, you know, I'm trying to like I don't want to go, but I'm up at 5.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No,
So it's one of those. But I noticed you're a Liverpool fan. Well
yeah,
done, you played well today. I'm a Man City fan, so
oh,
I
yeah,
don't know if we'll speak again after this.
yeah. Well, my entire family's United fans, so yeah,
Oh
they've
no, today would have been interesting.
yeah, so yeah, they're not speaking to me at all, so I
Oh,
might
no,
be
you know what?
disappointed.
That was crazy against Man
Yeah,
United as well. I mean, even I sat down and watched it like for the first half, and I was like, "Oh, they're getting quite a beating here.
yeah, exactly.
This is
No,
actually getting a bit
great.
too much." But
Yeah,
yeah, I think we were like rooting for them on the deal for once in our lives. Like normally, never happens. Obviously,
yeah,
City here, so
exactly. Yeah.
but yeah, I know.
Well, yeah.
Sorry, what were you saying?
Oh no, 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 nothing. No, sorry.
But yeah, no, definitely. If you want to do a few more of these, we can cover a few more chapters.
Yeah,
I want people to come out of their shells more and speak about particular subjects. It doesn't always have to be about autism. It's
yeah,
about you know, doing a just broadening yourself really, getting out there, making the word known. Absolutely keep doing what you're doing for your sister's legacy, her memory. You know, she's done all the work for you guys, I've noticed. You just kind of
Yeah,
pick it up and take
yeah,
it through.
it's just we just have to kind of spread everything. She's pretty much done everything for us.
Do it. She's probably like, come on, you're taking
Yeah,
ages here. You know, I can, if that's how she
yeah,
was, move on.
yeah.
Probably has a plan, like you're meant to be here and you're like 3 steps backwards,
Yeah, I
like,
know. Yeah, well, I feel we're probably behind. Yeah, she would have been much more ahead. But yeah, no, it's been really nice. But yeah, if yeah, I'm not even good at public speaking, so if I can do it, yeah, hopefully even more people can do it. Definitely. So yeah,
Exactly. I mean, you got to start somewhere, and it's just being
yeah,
honest. You know, we're those accounts where we don't have millions of followers, and it's not about that. I
yeah,
purely done this account just to give people a different understanding of autism, and
yeah,
because I live with it. So when I first made
mhm,
it, it was a bit, I had a few people going, "Well, you don't know this," and I was like,
mhm.
"Technically, I do, my love, but it's
Yeah,
one of those." So I do
yeah,
challenge it. I'm a challenger.
yeah,
So if anyone does challenge me, I'm like, hang on a second, but
yeah,
I'm not always right. No one's perfect and everything.
mhm,
We just can only do what we can do and spread the
yeah,
awareness. So definitely keep doing what you're doing.
yeah,
It's been amazing, and yeah, we should do this again.
yeah. Definitely. No, I appreciate it. No, no, really, it was really nice. Yeah. Yeah.
Lovely.
Mhm.
Well, I'm gonna go because I'm in the car and I don't know. I have to like go through the shed to go up the
Yeah,
stairs. So I'm one of those scary cats.
yeah,
So I'm just gonna go now. But yeah, it was great, and yeah, speak to you soon. Thank you to
yeah,
everyone who's watching, and yeah, if you're not following, go give him a follow. He does loads of videos on Ehlers-Danlos, mental health, and I think you've got a few gym workouts as well, isn't it?
yeah.
Struggling with gym
Just
life.
full of all sorts now.
It's a bit of all sorts. So yeah, go give him a follow. And yeah, so I'll let you go and yeah, we'll do this again another time.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, thank you. Really
No,
appreciate it.
thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you.
No worries. Take care. All the
Take
best.
care. Bye.